Of the race for Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. So I will just say right off the bat, it's not really looking good for the Trump campaign right now when it comes to his vice presidential pick. Now, I'm not here to say that VPs matter so much, right? I believe that Donald Trump would have won the presidency in 2016 um, without Mike Pence on the ticket if it was someone even weaker than Mike Pence. I think that Biden would have won in 2020 without Kamala Harris as his running mate ticket, or nominee or whatever pick. However, that being said, vice presidents do matter in elections. I mean, how the ticket, how the top of the ticket is perceived by the American people. For example, Donald Trump picking a more moderate, more centrist vice president, running mate, would definitely broaden his appeal to many more independent and centrist voters as he comes across as less out there, less conservative, less far right. So they do matter, right? They could change the outcome of how a state or multiple states vote, right? With how narrow some states are in this day and age in American presidential elections, a vice president can make or break a state, which means in this election, in this historically close election, this vice president pick could make or break the next president of the United States. A campaign. Who is the who is the next United States president? So, Donald Trump had a wide variety of options, and he still does. I mean, it's not like Donald Trump is going to be doomed simply because his potential picks aren't looking so good, but it definitely is narrowing, right? His options. I mean, just 2 days ago, I believe, it came out that Christy Gome had shot her baby puppy, her own baby puppy, and killed it in a gravel pit, and she willingly and openly wrote about this in her book, and still 3 or 4 days later she is still trying to defend herself. I mean, if you're still defending yourself for killing a baby puppy days after it came out that you did, then you're probably not in the right place. And that kind of eliminated her. As this headline puts, sources from the Trump campaign are saying that she is now out of it. Now, I think that this is a major blow to the Trump campaign. For quite literally years now, I had been saying that it would be Christy Gome who would be Trump's running mate. I thought that she checked every box. She was loyal. She was positive for the campaign. She could attract more moderate voters, especially suburban women. And I thought that she was just a very solid pick overall, and for quite a while, really been better than anyone else that could have the job. And it was also became very clear that she wanted the job, right? She endorsed Trump, I believe, before the Iowa caucuses at a rally in South Dakota, and she has been praising him for quite a while now. Yes, and during the Republican primary, turning her back on other candidates like Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, etc. So she absolutely wants the job, and beforehand I thought that she would be a good pick. And I believe that the Trump campaign did want her. I'm not saying that they were definite on her, but she was definitely someone who was a very safe option and that they could always go back to in case they couldn't find anyone else. They've got a wide variety of choices here, right? They've got many, many choices, but things fall through a lot, right? Some people turn it down. There's dirt revealed. There's dirt uncovered on other people, and at last minute they can't choose them. But it really seemed like Christy Gome, the governor of South Dakota, was someone who they could always turn back to as a very solid and positive choice for Trump's running mate that could actually add to the ticket. But now that is not the case. And I think that The Trump campaign is kind of starting to get a little nervous when it comes to their vice presidential picks because their options have narrowed down a lot. So, who are the potential picks? Because it's clear that it can no longer be Christy Gome. Well, in the political veterans section that the New York Times highlights, there are a couple good options, primarily Tim Scott and Nikki Haley. That being said, Nikki Haley has zero shot of being Trump's running mate. She has made it clear that she does not want the job. If she did, she could get the job if she did, right? She would add so much to the ticket. She is by far the best choice of any of these people. But it's clear that she doesn't want it. After the remarks Trump made about her husband, after the nasty remarks Trump made about herself, Nikki Haley, it's clear that she would not want to join a ticket with Donald Trump. Now, Tim Scott is one of the few really good choices. We've been talking a lot about how Trump is probably going to pick a woman or a person of color or both. And Tim Scott, obviously, is an African American, and he fits that description. I think that he is going to be perceived much more, even more than Christy Gome or other contenders or other VP contenders. I think that he will be very much perceived as a moderate and a centrist and a unifier in this country. And I think that would add a really nice effect to such a divisive figure like Donald Trump. So he is one of the, if not the best option that Trump has right now, and it's clear that he definitely wants the job. And I currently think that the pick will be Tim Scott. I think that Trump will pick Tim Scott, senator from South Carolina, by the way. Elise Stefanik, I really doubt it. She's not too much of a household name, and I don't think that she is very likable at all, right? I don't think that she is someone who could go out and campaign, go on news interviews, and defend Donald Trump adequately the way that he would like. She really doesn't fit the kind of campaign, and I don't see her being the pick, even though she was a top contender a few months ago. Now, Marco Rubio might be a sleeper pick. I actually could see it being Marco Rubio because he brings in those Latino voters who are joining the Republican Party in high numbers, but he would really increase and skyrocket turnout for the Republican ticket among Latino voters. I think that he'd be a very good pick, along with Tim Scott, really add a more moderate, centrist, likable, aspect to a divisive figure like Donald Trump. Then Mike Pompeo, I don't think that he has any interest in this. I don't know why he's even being considered. He wouldn't add anything to the ticket. And then, so that's the best section for Trump. These political veterans, and I do think that picking someone like Mike Pence-esque in 2016 kind of guy would help because even though Donald Trump has been president, I still do think that it would be positive to have someone on the ticket with a more presidential attitude and tone with how they speak and campaign. And then you move into the Loyalists, people who wouldn't add much to the ticket at all, but Trump does like loyalty. You've got J.D. Vance. He would be the best of these Loyalist picks, but still really doesn't add much overall. You've got Ben Carson, who is just a phenomenally weak candidate through and through. He has literally negative charisma. You've got Sarah Huckabee Sanders, just not enough of a household name. People don't really know what she's all about. Then you've got Christy Gome, who shot her baby puppy. You've got John Ratcliffe, who I have never heard of, until a few days ago. No one knows who this guy is. He has a 0% chance of being the pick. You've got Kari Lake, who it's come out, reportedly, Donald Trump is starting to get annoyed with because of her frequent visits to Mar-a-Lago. She still claims that her 2022 election loss in Arizona was because of fraud. Her only political experience is running and losing a gubernatorial race in Arizona against a candidate who didn't campaign and refused to debate. That should have been an easy win. Then you've got the up-and-comers. You got Vivek Ramaswamy, who has said so many conspiracy theories throughout the years, has no political experience, is literally just Trump, but even more extreme. That does not help. You've also got another very extreme far-right person will say. Byron Donalds. He doesn't add much to the ticket at all. He doesn't add anything to the ticket. He only weakens it. You've got Nancy Mace, whose politics are all over the place. No one knows where she stands on anything. You've got Wesley Hunt, about 0.03% name recognition across the country. He is a U.S. representative who was elected in 2022. Yes, 22. He has major inexperience. And then you've got Doug Burgum, who I honestly think is one of the safer picks. I think, and we're going to get to this, how he is actually rising up in the ranks to become Trump's VP. And that's because Doug Burgum is becoming the kind of new Christy Gome to the Trump campaign. A safe pick who does actually probably add at least a little bit to the ticket. I mean, Doug Burgum, even though he is a white male, which, the Trump campaign would prefer not to have, it's not like he is very extreme or very unlikable. I think that he could go out and campaign for Donald Trump and go in news interviews and stuff and positively benefit the Trump campaign. So that would be definitely a wild card, and it would be very interesting if he were the pick, but I could honestly see it, and that is how bad things are going for the Trump campaign right now when it comes to who they're picking for vice president, that they're seriously picking, or considering, Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, who no one knows who he is. He has very little political experience, but I honestly think that he does help in some way. Then you've got Tucker Carlson. We don't even need to consider him. We've got Rick Scott, who's running for re-election. He's definitely not going to be the pick. He's just an old, white, bald guy. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene. Don't need to talk about her. I assume that everyone knows that she would hurt the ticket greatly. And then you've got Katie Britt, who I think is out of consideration after her disastrous State of the Union Republican response speech. So that really leaves only less than a handful. About a few people up for consideration who Trump might actually pick, number one, and who might actually help the ticket, number two. That's Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, as I said. Let's see. I guess I would not include J.D. Vance because he said that he has not talked with the Trump campaign once about being the pick. And then you've got Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida. And you've got Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina. You've only got 3 viable picks, and I am about 80% certain that it will be one of those 3. Tim Scott, Marco Rubio, or Doug Burgum. Sorry, let's call it 70% sure. 60. Yeah, I'm really not all that sure. So, that's it. Campaigns typically have a wide range of viable candidates who would really help the ticket. Wide range. Biden considered so many people in 2020 to be his running mate. Donald Trump only has 3 serious contenders. 4 if you include J.D. Vance, but he reportedly is not in talks with the Trump campaign. So, as I said, the Trump campaign at this point would probably like to have a stronger field of candidates. I don't think, again, that this VP pick will be a make or break point of the Trump campaign, but it definitely doesn't help, especially with Biden gaining on Trump. Maybe I think that Biden actually is favored to win the presidency right now when you do the math, when you look at the map. So Trump needs a good running mate, someone who could attract new voters to the ticket, and he's only got 3 people, I think, who that might actually be. I think it's Tim Scott, Marco Rubio, or Donald Trump. After Christy Gome, it was revealed, shot her puppy. And then I won't go into this, but here's a graph that the Washington Post came up with about who would be the most loyal to Trump, the most MAGA, the less MAGA, and then the more likely to help the ticket and the less likely. So you could see that Nikki Haley is the most likely to help the ticket. She's also the least MAGA, which is why she is unlikely to be the pick. And then you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is the least likely to help the ticket. In the middle, you've got people like Ron DeSantis, Mike Pompeo, Christy Gome, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and some more. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Leave a comment, leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you all next time.